Welcome to the CFGI Deep Dive. Today, we've got a detailed breakdown lined up for you.
That's right, and we're going to try and unpack what's going on with CFGI, this AI trading system they have called M.A.E.V.E, and of course the CFGI token that ties into it.
Let's jump right in there. Okay, so let's start with the origin story. There was quite an evolution.
Oh, absolutely. It all kicked off back in April 2024. They were called Predict Crypto then, and they launched with their own Wise and Naive index and token too.
Right. And then they acquired CFGI.io. What was the significance of that?
Well, CFGI.io was already a pretty established site, so that acquisition seems to have been a big step, led to the whole rebrand to CFGI. And then January 1st, 2025, they migrated to the new CFGI token contract.
And they specifically mentioned removing the tax with that new contract.
Yeah, that's a key change. No tax on the new token.
So the platform we see now, the whole token ecosystem, it's really a result of that merger. And they've had significant user growth since then.
Yeah, 19,000 verified accounts overall, and almost 3,000 of those came just since that January 1st token migration.
That's, well, pretty solid growth indicated there. What does the document say is the big picture mission for CFGI.io now?
It's ambitious. They state their main goal is to be a sort of one-stop shop for traders and investors. The idea presented is to apply their algorithms beyond just crypto. They mentioned stocks, forex, memes, NFTs, you name it. A central hub using their analysis.
Okay, speaking of analysis, let's get into their main tool described here. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index. What makes this one different?
It's pretty comprehensive, engineered specifically for crypto sentiment analysis, not just a basic score.
And what factors does it actually look at? The source lists quite a few.
Yeah, it covers the expected stuff like volume, volatility, dominance, whale movements, order book data.
The technicals.
Right. But it also tries to capture the human side, search engine data, social sentiment, even the impact of popular TA trends.
And here's where the document makes a pretty bold claim. It says, this index is currently the only one that's AI powered.
That's definitely highlighted as a key differentiator. And the source also notes its multi-time frame capability.
Meaning?
You can see the sentiment score on 15-minute charts, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, giving different perspectives.
Okay, so how does all that data plus the AI layer actually help an investor? What's the benefit according to the source?
By pulling all this together with AI, the aim is to give a single, accurate score reflecting the emotional state for each specific crypto, not just a general market.
So it's more granular.
Exactly. The core idea is to help people make decisions using this deep analysis, maybe spot those irrational patterns that tend to repeat in markets.
That link to human psychology and market cycles seems central to what they're doing. But what about their market position? Where do they stand?
They are the third biggest fear and greed site globally. And importantly, they're the top Google result when you search for your favorite altcoin's fear and greed index.
That suggests pretty strong organic reach.
Yeah, seems so.
They also talk about custom charts. Integrating TradingView, what does that add?
The source points out this lets users do their technical analysis right on the CFGI platform. They can use other indicators, layer things up.
And plot the CFGI score itself alongside everything else.
Exactly. It brings it all together visually in one place.
And if you don't want to watch charts all day, there's a market signals feature mentioned.
Correct. Customizable alerts, basically.
Yeah.
The document notes you can set it up so you get notified when the score for a crypto you're watching hits a specific target level.
Okay, useful. Now shifting from the analysis tool to, well, automating trades based on it. M.A.E.V.E, the AI trading system, what's its main job?
M.A.E.V.'s stated mission is pretty clear. Be a low-risk, automatic compounding profit system.
The dream for many investors, right?
The source literally calls it the plug-and-play trader. That's the concept.
And how does M.A.E.V.E fit into the bigger CFGI picture?
Well, the document states CFGI's overall mission is to become the sort of heart and data source for all AI trading. M.A.E.V.E is positioned as the first big public step towards that.
Okay, what's fueling it? What data does M.A.E.V.E use?
This is interesting. The source emphasizes that CFGI.io has apparently been collecting really detailed data for every crypto on their platform since way back in 2021.
Since 2021?
Yeah, across those multiple time frames. 15 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 day, and it's refreshed every 15 minutes.
That is a lot of historical and real-time data. And they claim this data is the key to enabling profitable AI trading.
Precisely. This data collection is the foundation. It's what made the creation of M.A.E.V.E possible in the first place.
When did they actually start building M.A.E.V.E itself?
According to the source, construction started in April 2024. They use data from both CFGI.io and that initial Wise and Naive index.
And it went public, or at least into public beta fairly recently.
Yep, January 9th, 2025 is the date of the public beta launch.
Okay, so the big question. How has it performed since then? What numbers does the source share?
Since that January launch, the source claims M.A.E.V.E has executed over 550 trades, with a win rate stated as over 90%. And it's been running at an estimated 3% to 5% monthly return on the whole portfolio.
On the default setting, right. They mentioned low risk.
Yes, on the default low risk setting.
And if you project that 3-5% monthly return out, what kind of potential are they suggesting?
Based on that rate, performance could hit around 60% plus in a year, 155% in 2 years, and then roughly 950% up over 5 years.
Wow.
And they also note it's designed to scale, supposedly up to portfolios over $10 million.
Okay, with numbers like that, 90% win rate, 3-5% a month, the source mentioned skepticism. How did they respond to that, according to this?
Transparency. That's presented as their main strategy. They make a point of saying M.A.E.V.E.'s operation is very public.
How so? How do they show that transparency?
The document lists a few ways. Real-time buy calls get posted in their CFGI Telegram group.
Okay.
Real-time sell calls go out on a dedicated Twitter account at CFGI M.A.E.V.E.
Publicly visible.
And maybe most importantly, the entire aggregated trade history is apparently live and visible on the CFGI website on an AI dashboard page. Anyone can supposedly go check it.
So they're really putting the results out there.
Exactly. They apparently ran 3 early access rounds specifically to demonstrate it worked. And they also say they publicly break down any failed trades to show they're learning and improving. That process has been ongoing for nearly 6 months.
Interesting. And it sounds like from the document, maybe the algorithm itself wasn't the hardest part.
That's a key takeaway from the source material, yeah. They mentioned finding the actual infrastructure, connecting to exchanges reliably, managing all the different fees, minimizing lag. Those were the bigger hurdles.
So recent work has been less about the core logic and more about making it work smoothly for users.
A lot of focus on making the profitable algorithm actually usable and robust in the real world, yes.
Now, despite those good overall numbers, the source is pretty candid about hitting some recent performance snags. What caused those issues?
They point to 2 main things. First, a big shift in the market itself, moving from risk-off to more risk-on sentiment that apparently impacted how M.A.E.V.E. was performing.
Market conditions changed.
Right. And second, they realized that high exchange fees, specifically from places like Coinbase and Kraken, were actually eating into the end user's profit and loss more than expected.
The hidden costs.
Exactly. That P&L impact was significant.
And the document says this triggered a sort of emergency workshop with the core dev team.
Yeah, an intense workshop is how they phrase it, to really dig into what was going wrong and why.
What came out of that? What were the main fixes or changes they identified?
2 major areas needing immediate attention based on their internal deep dive.
Okay, what were they?
First was exchanges. They basically admitted they'd underestimated how much CEX fees affect the user's final results.
So what did they do about it?
The decision, as stated here, was to stop supporting any exchange charging more than 0.2% in market or taker fees for spot trading.
That's a pretty strict cutoff. Which ones got dropped?
That meant disconnecting Coinbase, Kraken, Binance US, and M.A.E.V.E. from M.A.E.V.E.
Okay, so who is supported now?
According to the document, KuCoin, Binance, but they specifically note that it's best for portfolios over $10,000, and CoinEx.
And their criteria for adding new ones is purely profit-driven now.
That's what they state. It's about where M.A.E.V.E. can perform best for the user, not just which jurisdictions they can access.
Are they looking at others?
Yes, the source mentions they're currently testing Hyperliquid, noted as the lowest fee DEX, and also Ourbit, which they cite as the lowest fee SEX. Hyperliquid is apparently a strong candidate for the next edition.
Okay, that covers the exchange fee problem. What was the second big area they tackled?
The algorithm itself? They concluded it just hadn't kept up with that market shift we mentioned.
And they had proof of that.
Yeah, the source gives a specific data point. M.A.E.V.E. had only 13 break-even trades in its first 5 months, but 8 of those 13 happened within just 5 weeks.
Wow, okay. That really highlights something changed. So, how do they decide to fix the algorithm's fit for the current market?
The core decision was to hand over more control to the AI. Let it make more of the key decisions about triggers and strategy.
And how are they actually implementing that? What are the specific algorithm upgrades?
They've been working through a list of solutions from that workshop. A big one is something they call dynamic portfolio management.
Dynamic portfolio management. What does that mean for M.A.E.V.E.?
The document explains it adjusts trade size and how often it trades based on what the market's doing right now.
So like fewer bigger trades when it's quiet.
Exactly. Maximize portfolio use then. But on busy, volatile days, it'll use a smaller percentage per trade.
To avoid getting wiped out if everything moves at once.
Right. Prevents depleting the funds too quickly if lots of potential trades pop up.
And this is live now.
Yes, it's already implemented. They moved from static sizing to this dynamic approach based on portfolio size. They even cited a recent market dump where this new dynamic system apparently used only 66% of the portfolio at its peak, whereas the old static version would have hit 100%. So proof of concept for them.
And it's going to get even more dynamic.
The plan outlined is to evolve it further, towards customizing based on how specific currency pairs or timeframes are performing, all driven by AI triggers.
You mentioned giving the AI more control over triggers earlier. What does full trigger control actually mean here?
They describe this as a major step, moving from roughly 50% AI control to the AI having full authority. It will automatically generate and switch between the most profitable trading triggers it identifies based on all its data points for each currency, time frame, and the market stage it detects.
Can sound complex.
It does. They note the restructuring needed for this was significant, and they publicly updated their users on the process.
That transparency theme again. They even planned something called the public brain. What's that about?
Yeah, the source says this is a future feature. The goal is to let users kind of peek inside M.A.E.V.E.'s head, see how it's scoring data, processing info, making decisions.
Like seeing its thought process.
Sort of. It'll start internally, then go to early access users, then paying users eventually.
But it won't be completely open.
No. The document is clear. It will be censored. They explicitly state they need to prevent people from just copying the core logic, especially via their developer API.
Keep the secret sauce secret, basically.
While still showing the methodology, yeah.
What about how M.A.E.V.E. sees the bigger market picture right now? Any limitations mentioned?
The source does note some current constraints, like M.A.E.V.E. doesn't use price itself as a direct trading factor currently.
Interesting.
Also, open trades don't currently talk to each other. They aren't working together towards a common goal. And it doesn't merge signals from, say, a 1-hour chart and a 4-hour chart for the same coin yet.
Future plans involve more coordination.
Yes, developing trades that work collectively towards a shared portfolio objective is on the roadmap.
They also introduced this proprietary thing, GMDI. What's that?
Global Market Direction Indicator. They describe it almost like an earthquake alarm for crypto markets.
To tell if things are calm or about to get crazy?
Essentially, yeah. Differentiating between ranging periods and volatile breakouts. They tried integrating it once already. Found the initial approach flawed, just supplementing existing trades, so they abandoned that specific implementation.
So what's the new plan for GMDI?
The source says future development will treat it as its own strategy, maybe like a spot leverage indicator with separate trade goals using its own time parameters based on the market conditions it detects.
Okay. And lastly, on improvements, they mentioned entry accuracy.
Right. Some changes already made by, as they put it, kickstarting the AI brain and updating M.A.E.V.E. for the current market reality. This affects entries, DCA decisions, and exits.
What's next for improving entries?
This sounds like a big step. They plan to use AI for the first time, apparently, to bring in market-specific external data to inform M.A.E.V.'s decisions. The document says incorporating it is expected to transform M.A.E.V.'s spot performance.
And that would naturally help other planned features.
Yeah, they expect it to improve leverage trading, the rewards models, NFT functionalities, and that build-your-own M.A.E.V.E. idea down the line.
And the source suggests early users are already seeing benefits from the recent tweaks.
Yes, it mentions updated performance figures where early access folks apparently saw M.A.E.V.E. beat the stock market threefold in one 24-hour period. They also plan to change how P&L is displayed, adding a calculator to make that 3-5% monthly potential clearer.
Okay, so when are all these fixes, the exchange changes, the algorithm upgrades actually happening?
The source says changes are going live immediately right now. Most are expected to be fully implemented within about a month.
That's fast.
It is. Though they do add a little note acknowledging the timeline is slightly complicated because 2 core team members are expecting babies very soon.
Real life happening too. Okay, let's pivot to the CFGI token itself. What role does it play? What's its utility here?
Big utility update going live this month. The main thing is access. Holding CFGI tokens basically is your subscription.
So, hold the token, get access to CFGI.io and M.A.E.V.E.
Yes. By verifying your holdings on the platform, it acts like your access key.
Okay, simple enough. Anything else?
Yeah, a token-verified account with that active subscription also gets fee-less crypto-to-crypto swaps on their platform.
Fee-less swaps. Nice perk. What about future stuff?
Token holders with subscriptions get early access. That's mentioned for the planned stocks, memes, Forex, NFT platforms they want to build out.
Does holding give you any influence, any say in things?
According to the document, yes. Token verified subscribers can vote on things like which new tokens get listed, future platform features, even the general company direction.
Okay. What if another project wants to use their data or systems?
The source explains they can get API access by buying and holding CFGI. They have to verify they hold it.
If they sell?
They lose access. It's designed to incentivize holding the token for continued access.
Right. The document mentions a fair value system for this access. What do they mean by that?
It's presented as, okay, if the token price goes up, your holdings represent more access value when you verify. But importantly, if the price goes down, you don't lose that access value.
Unless you sell the tokens.
Exactly. The utility is tied to holding, not just the current dollar value. Protects users from price drops impacting their access level.
That sounds like a system deliberately built to encourage holding long-term for the utility, kind of decoupling it from short-term price moves.
That's about right.
Okay, so access is the core utility. Are there direct financial rewards for holding CFGI?
Yes. A pretty detailed revenue share mechanism is laid out. The source states 50% of all revenue streams CFGI generates.
All of them. Subscriptions, API fees, everything.
All streams, yes. 50% is used to buy back CFGI tokens from the open market. Daily.
Daily buybacks. And where do those tokens go?
They get airdropped directly to CFGI holders who have that active subscription verified on CFGI.io.
So you hold the token, use the platform, and you get a share of the revenue via airdrop tokens bought from the market.
That's the model described. The other 50% of revenue goes to cover operating costs and fund user growth.
Okay, so project success directly feeds rewards back to active token holders.
That's the flywheel they describe, and it's not just platform revenue. Profits from M.A.E.V.E.'s own trading are also used to buy back CFGI.
M.A.E.V.E buys back the token too.
Yes, there's a public treasury mentioned for this. Apparently, it trades on a CEX to avoid people just copy trading M.A.E.V.E directly. This whole rewards flywheel, they say, really kicks into gear once M.A.E.V.E and the token utility are fully launched.
The document also mentions they're grassroots funded, no VCs.
Correct. No VC funding mentioned, and zero tax on the token itself. They do acknowledge that M.A.E.V.'s 3-5% monthly return, while good for compounding its own fund, doesn't really cover all the immediate short-term costs like operations and team salaries.
So how do they plan to get a bigger starting fund for M.A.E.V.E so it can trade larger size and contribute more significantly to those buybacks?
They outline a plan for a big wallet funded by an upcoming NFT launch.
NFTs for funding.
Yeah, the funds raised from selling those NFTs will go into a dedicated public M.A.E.V.E fund on an exchange. M.A.E.V.E trades that capital.
And the profits from that fund.
Pulled out monthly or maybe after big market moves and used to buy back CFGI, feeding that same rewards flywheel.
Do the NFTs do anything else besides raise funds?
Yes, the source says these new NFTs will also unlock M.A.E.V.'s more advanced features as they roll out things like leveraged trading, access to more currencies, even that build your own M.A.E.V.E functionality eventually.
Okay, let's quickly summarize the business model then, based on all these revenue streams in the source. How does CFGI make money?
Okay, on the CFGI.io platform side, user subscriptions are the base, then developer API access fees, small swap fees from the integrated crypto swaps, click-through referrals from partners, and strategic news advertisements like sponsored content on their blog.
A few different streams there. What about the M.A.E.V.E side?
Similar foundation, user subscriptions, again, monthly, yearly, lifetime options mentioned. Then M.A.E.V.'s own trading profit split 50-50 between rewards and adding liquidity, plus a plan for tiny trading fees on profitable trades once it's fully live, designed to be almost unnoticeable for users but add up for the project.
And using M.A.E.V.'s success for advertising revenue too.
Yeah, the source mentions aiming for high Google rankings for M.A.E.V.E, just like CFGI.io has specifically to drive traffic towards the CFGI token and its ecosystem, highlighting the benefits and rewards.
So it really looks like growth and revenue from both parts of the platform and the AI trader are designed to funnel back into strengthening the CFGI token through those buybacks and rewards.
That's definitely the structure described. More users, more revenue, more potential rewards flowing back to the token holders using the platform.
Let's circle back quickly to the team and transparency. The source specifically mentions KYC verification. Why highlight that?
It emphasizes the entire core team. All 6 of them are KYC'd by a third party, Assuredify.
Know your customer.
Right. It's presented as a way to build user confidence, show they're accountable, and position themselves as, reliable and trustworthy leaders.
And that transparency commitment we talked about, it covers bumps in the road too, like how they handled those 13 break-even trades.
Absolutely. They seem committed to publicly analyzing problems and showing how they're iterating and improving the system based on those challenges, like with the workshop outcomes.
Okay, so what's their plan for growth before everything is fully launched? How do they build momentum?
They really emphasize their existing traffic. Millions of yearly visits already, those top Google rankings.
Yeah.
And crucially, they state it's 100% natural, direct traffic, and composed entirely of crypto-native users. They already have the target audience visiting.
So the strategy is converting those existing visitors into CFGI users and holders.
Basically, yes. Funnel that relevant traffic towards the token. They plan to do this using product placement on the site, clear calls to action, reward systems, and just showcasing the AI results. Build momentum before the big features go live.
And they're using an airdrop campaign right now to boost this.
They are. It really seems like a great time to join. There is a potential maximum prize pool mentioned of $500,000 plus 1,000 of those M.A.E.V.E NFTs.
Dependent on participation, though.
Yes, the final size depends on how many people get involved.
How are they use that participation factor?
They plan to share updates on the growing prize pool size and participant numbers to kind of build hype and encourage more people to join in the different categories. A big marketing push with outside agencies is also planned.
How are the prizes actually split up?
50% of the pool goes to new buyers of CFGI, proportional to how much they buy.
Incentivizing buying.
Okay. 20% goes to verified CFGI.io accounts that signed up before this new utility system launches, rewarding early users.
Right.
10% goes to people already holding CFGI when the utility launches, rewarding holders.
Oh, yeah.
Another 10% is for what they call CFGI raters on X Twitter, people promoting it, judged on quality and impact.
Really?
And the final 10% is for content creators making videos or posts about CFGI.io, CFGI, or M.A.E.V.E, also based on quality and reach.
So it seems designed to reward multiple types of engagement, buying, using, holding, promoting, all to build that buzz before the main features fully launch.
Exactly. Generate momentum before things like leverage trading, the daily buybacks, and increased liquidity really kick in.
Looking just ahead then, what are the immediate next steps on their roadmap?
Well, the subscription overhaul is key new options, maybe adjusted pricing reflecting the new value, and implementing those CFGI token holder access methods.
And M.A.E.V.E.'s full launch, obviously.
Yes, the AI system, described as nearly here.
The NFT launch for the funding and features.
That's upcoming too. And also significant work on new token infrastructure.
Why is that needed?
They need to scale up their backend systems like Tank's capacity so they can start listing way more tokens, maybe 5-7 new ones weekly on CFGI.io, plus more on a separate meme platform.
Okay, quite a bit on the immediate horizon. So stepping back, what does this deep dive into the CFGI platform document really tell us about crypto data analysis, AI and trading, and how projects are being built in this space?
Well, it definitely shows a project focused on combining lots of different data points, market data, sentiment data, into something actionable. It highlights the ambition to automate trading with AI based on that data.
But also the challenges.
Yeah, but also being pretty open about the real-world technical hurdles, like dealing with exchanges and fees, which is often glossed over. And it strongly emphasizes token utility and community rewards, that revenue-sharing model, as core to their business plan.
And how could understanding these pieces, the data approach, the AI system, the infrastructure issues, the token model, the transparency focus, help you, the listener, when you look at other similar projects or market tools?
I think it encourages looking deeper than just the headline claims, Ask about the data sources, how deep, how broad, how transparent is the actual operation and performance? What's the real infrastructure doing behind the scenes? Does the business model seem sustainable? How does the token actually provide value and rewards? And importantly, how does the team handle problems? Do they communicate openly when things don't go perfectly?
Good points. So just to quickly recap, we traced CFGI's evolution, looked at their AI-powered fear and greed index, dug into M.A.E.V.E.'s development, its transparency, the recent improvements, examined the CFGI token's utility for access and rewards, and outlined their business model and growth plans, including that ongoing airdrop.
And it's clear from the source material, their stated goal is huge, becoming the heart and data source for all AI trading. That's quite the ambition.
It really is. All right. I think we covered everything. Thank you for listening.
And don't forget to follow CFGI_token on Twitter for the latest updates. Bye.